Howdy, y'all. My name is Price. I'm coming at you with some more Stardew Valley. What's on TV. Let's see. Weather is going to be beautiful and sunny tomorrow. Fortune teller says neutral day. Neutral day is not a bad day. All right. Well, we already saw what our farm looked like because I showed it off a little bit at the end of last episode. I'm going to just use the rest of these cobblestone paths here. Oh, you had to go and do that, huh? Come here. Let's try this again. Right on the path. All right, cool. And I see you, little buddy. All right, let's get to watering some stuff. All right, y'all. So today, the day that I'm recording this, it is actually Christmas Eve. And for my family, Christmas Eve is probably bigger than Christmas for my family. We're big into just kind of hanging out and having a fun party over at my parents' place. It's going to be a blast. We eat Mexican food and everything. It is it's tons of fun, so I'm really looking forward to that. Been running around all day doing some last-minute holiday-related stuff, picking up some packaging so I can wrap some gifts last minute and whatnot. Not scrambling to get gifts today, at least. That's nice. It's always tough when you got to struggle on that last day before Christmas to get your gifts and things done. But it happens. It happens. And I believe that makes it also the first day of Hanukkah, or maybe it's the last day of Hanukkah. It's an important day of Hanukkah, that's for sure, because I know I see a lot of my friends tweeting about that and posting about that. So basically, to anybody out there celebrating any holidays, I hope you're having good ones. And even if you're not celebrating holidays, even if you're just hanging out, having a day, I hope that you're having a nice day. And I know that when this episode goes out, it has already all come and gone. So, you're already past your holidays. I guess New Year's is coming up. But overall, I hope you're having a good time this time of year. So, let us get through all this stuff. We don't have any money for any kind of buying any new things. We could go into the mines again. Wouldn't be a terrible choice for us. I should also try and remember, and someone reminded me of this, to try and give the slingshot to Vincent. A lot of y'all also are saying I need to get multiple furnaces. You're absolutely right. The only reason I haven't been doing it yet is because obviously you see it costs a lot of copper ore, and up until this point I've been really wanting to just get my copper bars, but I think we're right around that point where we could probably just say, you know what, we don't need any more. Let's build another furnace. Am I right? Let's do it. And eventually I will likely have 6 or 7 furnaces, to be honest. It's just kind of it's easier when, you have a huge chunk of them. So thank you for the suggestion. I just wanted to let y'all know it's not something that I haven't been thinking about. It's just something that I've been putting off. Okay. So I would like to try and give out some gifts today. I think that would be not only because it's a holiday, although that does play into that pretty nicely, but also because we need to be doing that a little bit more. Let's grab this blue jazz flower. That's usually good for pretty much anybody. And I guess that'll be it. That'll be it. We'll be fine. Okay, so what else have we got going on here? Before we start talking about any kind of fancy schmancy psychology related things, let's just go and look for some people to give some gifts. Anything that this gives me information about for our gift givers? No, if she had a little nurse's outfit thing on, then she'd be at work. So she's probably just up at home. Abigail's probably also at home. We'll probably see little Vincent walking around, I'm sure. Let's look south first, and then we'll check north. I should be looking at Junimo bundles. Maybe I'll look at that a little bit later. It's just something that I kind of always put off because it's not like the most fun thing to do. All right, can I give this to you, please? No, you can't. Mom won't let me have any more gummies today. Sorry, bro. Well, I would give you this slingshot, but apparently I cannot gift it to you. All right, so then there's question answer. So I think weapons you can't gift to people, which that's, understandable, I guess. The game doesn't want you to accidentally gift a weapon to somebody, which I could easily see happening. So that's fine. That's a fair issue. All right, let's go see if we can't find Abigail. Maybe she's over in the kitchen. Maybe. Yeah, there she is. Hi, Abigail. I seriously love this. You're the best, Price. Yay! The air is so thick with honey and nectar all summer. I almost feel dizzy. And you are Abigail's mom, right? Emily or something? Not Emily. Caroline. I've been seeing wild fruits in the forest lately. Oh, I should go check the forest. I need to actually upgrade my axe so that I can cut through big old hardwood logs and get into the forest. All right. Oh, hello.
George is always a little less grumpy in the summer. The warm weather softens his bones.
Good. That's good, kind of. I mean, soft bones doesn't sound too great. Hey, Robin. If you need any buildings on your farm upgraded, just ask. Will do, will do. Where's Maru? I expected her to be over there. I think, yeah, we'll go gift a gift to Maru, and then we'll pop into the mines. I think that'll be a good use of our time since we can't really buy anything else today. Plus, I'd love to get down to like a gold level. That'd be so nice. Where's Maru? Is she just in her room? I can't go into her room yet. Oh, no, she's not even home. Well, then. Maybe she's over by the... Sometimes she's over here to the right, right? If not, then I'll just have to gift her again some other day. Oh, there's Linus. Hey, buddy. This is a great gift. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, sir. You're a good guy. Have you come to ridicule me? No, I just gave you a gift. I think you're a cool dude. Deserving of friendship. All right. Well, let's get down in here. Let's do it. Whoo-cha-cha. Okay, so I guess let's go ahead then and talk about some... Oh, that's right. We got down to the next level. What's below us now? Just more icy stuff. All right, I'm going to zoom out. So, psychology-wise, what did I want to talk about today? Well, y'all asked a bunch of questions, and a lot of them, like a couple of them, sort of circled around a certain idea. And I thought, oh, my controller's plugged in. Hold on. Oh, man. I always have to unplug that because it vibrates and it like ends up shaking my whole table and messing with my sound. So my apologies if you heard some brrr kind of noise. This is it's a topic that sort of people have kind of like been circling around that I think that I'd like to explain at least a little bit, and I think it can help with a couple of the different things. Because a lot of the things that people had questions about, many of them are related to hearing or the way that we perceive sounds, or why are certain sounds scary or why are certain sounds nice and pleasant to hear. And so I just thought, like, let's talk about sound for a little bit. Let's talk about hearing, how it works, how it kind of relates to, but is also different from many of the other senses, because I think that might give you an indication as to why things work the way that they do. So, I find that oftentimes when talking about the senses, it's best to compare things to the sense of sight, mostly because vision is something that's a little bit more easy to understand how it works, right? Light bounces off of stuff, that light reflects into your eye, and your eye has little cells that detect differences in that light level, so how much light is there, and also the color of that light. So the how much light is there is pretty simple, all right? Because light is actually made up of stuff, photons of energy, okay? Now those photons, they travel from one place to another, right? And the number of photons and the speed at which these photons enter your eye is how you determine how much light is there and therefore how bright something is. A lot of photons is white. No photons is black. And then any range in between those amounts is going to be a gray kind of thing as far as the light levels are concerned. Then there's the color aspect. And now color is very different, but we perceive it in a similar fashion, right? It's light, it's bouncing off of stuff, it's photons. But instead of detecting the, oh my gosh, I'm getting wrecked a little bit here. Instead of detecting the amount of photons, the density of those photons, instead what you're detecting is you're detecting the wavelength. And so the wavelength, it's kind of hard to explain other than, like, think about literally waves, like waves in the ocean. There are tall waves that they move, they go really, really high and really, really low, but they're kind of the distance between that high and that low is very far. It's a very wide, very long wavelength, all right? So between two waves is going to be a big, vast distance. Then you'll have like these little waves that are like little ripples, right? And those are waves that are really, really short apart, right? They're so close together you could almost just look at them and say like, wow, that just looks like one tiny flat bit of water, right? It's a really fast wavelength, okay? Man, we found a bunch of stuff. That's cool. So that's what you're comparing that's what your eye is comparing with a bunch of little cells. We call them rods, or not rods, cones. Rods are the ones that detect light levels. cones are the ones that detect color. And so different wavelengths of light are perceived as different colors. So we have these really, really fast-moving short wavelengths. We perceive those as the bluer end of the spectrum, the violet end of the spectrum. And that's why we have a term ultraviolet. Okay, ultraviolet means above violet, as in we can no longer perceive at that level, right? So it's higher than, it's more than, it's faster than, it's a wavelength that's faster than what we can see. And violet would be the fastest wavelength that we can see. So that's why we call it ultraviolet. You can't see it, it's just outside of visible range. Then, on the flip side of that, the other end of the spectrum for our color vision is the red side of the spectrum. And then we have this thing called, you've probably heard of this before, infrared. Infrared means below red, as in it's an even wider wavelength than the red wavelengths that we see for red light, okay? And I'm going to refer to things as red light, blue light, etc. It's not, their color does not actually exist there, right? The color exists in our brains, and in fact, the thing that we're perceiving as color is just that wavelength that I told you about. Infrared is too wide of a wavelength, too big of a wavelength for us to be able to detect, okay? So we don't detect it. So we have this high end of the spectrum, and we have this low end of the spectrum, and that's what we're detecting, okay? I say we keep going a little bit, and we got a ghost fish, which we definitely need for a Junimo bundle. Let's keep going for a little bit. We might not make it down all the way to level 70, but we can at least maybe find some more materials. Okay, so what does all this have to do with sound? I've spent forever talking about color and vision. What does this have to do with sound? Well, you see, the way that we detect and determine color is sort of additive in nature, all right? We have these three different types of cones. One cone is sensitive to the higher end of the spectrum, so that's towards the blues and violets, okay? It's sensitive, I believe, to, let me think, our visual range is 450 to about 700 nanometers. I believe that the shorter wavelength cone is probably sensitive to around 500 nanometers. Maybe 530. But regardless, we have that one cone, right? Then we have two other cones that are pretty close to each other. I think, just off the top of my head, they fall somewhere in the most highly sensitive to like the 620 and the 640 range. I may be wrong on that, though. I think, actually, it might be like 530 and 540 and then 475. I'd have to go look that up. The specifics aren't that important. What is important is that those three cones are what we use to detect the different wavelengths of color. Now, your experience of color is not a world made up of mixtures, right? Of a bunch of little spots of red, green, and blue, are they? Right? That's not what you see, really. Even though that's kind of what the colors are that we use to mix things together. Actually, it'd probably be closer to like yellow, green, and blue are what we use to mix everything together, but I'm going off on a tangent. Point is, when you look at colors, you see solid colors everywhere. And that is because our brain mixes things together and tells us, what's the average? What's the average color that's in that range? So the downside of this is that when you look at something and you see green, here's what it could be. It could be a pure, quote-unquote, green light, okay? So it could be a specific one light at roughly, we're going to say 630 nanometers. We'll say 600 nanometers. Doesn't matter. Again, it's probably closer to like 540. Anyway, you see it could be a pure one wavelength that gives off that green, or it could be a whole bunch of wavelengths ranging from, let's say, 500 to 600. But what's the color that's in the middle? The color that's in the middle, if you added all those up together, if you put it on like a spectrum on a rainbow, if it's green, then you're going to see green. Instead of seeing blue and yellow, blue and yellow, blue and yellow, blue and yellow back and forth, you're seeing green. Okay? So your brain mixes that stuff together. Makes it a little bit easier for you to interpret it in that way. However, with sound, we do not do that. With sound, we actually have the ability, instead of having, say, a diamond, instead of having, say, three cones like we do in our eye in order to detect different wavelengths of light, and sound uses wavelengths, and we'll talk about that in a second. Sound is comprised of wavelengths as well. Turns out in our ear, in our inner ear, in the cochlea, the structure that detects differences in sound, we have thousands of different little cells, all tuned specifically for different wavelengths of sound. So if your retina, if you could say that your retina is based on 3 different points of information, lots of those points, but specifically just 3 different points of information, the 3 different cones you have, long, medium, and short cones. In our ears, you could say we have 10,000 cones for sound. Like we have thousands of cones for different wavelengths of sound that we use to detect different sounds. So we have way more points of reference that we can use, okay? So why is this important? Why? Oh, it's a little late. I'm glad I'm heading home, but oh, it might be late. So that's, I covered color in depth there. Man, I'm going crazy in this little discussion here. I didn't really write down notes. I'm just kind of saying it off the cuff, so it's a little odd. Anyway, so then when it comes to sound, oh, what is this? Spiceberry, right? Inventory's full. Come on. You're lucky today. I'll get you next time. So with sound, we have an even richer base of information that we're calling upon, right? So we have even more depth to it. Now, oh, can I get inside before 1? I'm not gonna. Come on, go. Oh, we did it. Cool. Whoa, what was that? I think I know what that was. +1 more ore per vein, or chances for gems to appear in pairs. I think people told me that geologist was the better one, and I think I did miner last time, because metal is a little bit more common to come across, so getting +1 more is kind of, it's nice, but it's not necessary, whereas being able to get doubles of really, really rare gems might be really nice, like diamonds and things. But this is consistent, and this is not. Let's go geologist. I might have just done the same thing I did last time as well. There was an earthquake during the night. Great. All right, let's check the TV real fast, then we're going to talk sound again. Okay, weather report. Storm is approaching. Okay, thunder and lightning. Good to know. That also means to water our plants for us. Spirits feel neutral today. Okay. And what's in the letter? Bryce, this is embarrassing. Bryce! Oh, this is embarrassing. I lost my lucky purple shorts. I'm telling you because I think I can trust you. If you find them, bring them back to me discreetly. I'll pay well. Thanks, Mayor Lewis. I happen to know where those might be, but there's no way it's going to be happening anytime soon that I find those for you, buddy, because you got to be friends with people to go inside their houses. Okay, so this whole thing about sound. So one of the questions that someone was asking about is like, why are certain sounds really bad? Why do we not like certain sounds? And then also on the flip side, why do we like certain sounds? Well, remember how I said that our vision is kind of additive? We take the middle of all the information that we get, so we could get hundreds of different wavelengths in our eye at us coming from a certain spot, and then our brain just says, that's all green. Or we can, just have a pure green wavelength, and our brain still says, that's just green. There ain't no difference. Okay. When it comes to sound, we do not do that. Instead, we hear all the sounds together, okay? Right? We give a very rich sound world that we experience. Now, the benefit of that is that we can hear all the minor details and the differences, right? I can tell when there are multiple different wavelengths of sound amongst one another. Oh, come on, dude. Stand. Thank you. But on the flip side, that also means that when we hear those things, they can often be discordant with one another. And I'll explain that in a bit. But before I talk about discordant stuff being discordant, let's talk about what sound is, okay? Sound is compressed and rarefied air, okay? It's a really fancy way of saying it's air moving back and forth. So remember that air is made up of material, right? It's not just empty space, but air is in fact stuff, right? It's little molecules floating around. Not molecules, but just little particles floating around. There might be some molecules in our air, but it's different. Anyway, cutting hairs again. It is stuff. And now that stuff, those little particles, can have more or less space in between it, right? So it can be really, really spread out, or it can be really tightly pressed together. Sound is basically the compression of those air particles together. It's a wave of pressure through the air, and it compresses all that oxygen up against one another, all those particles, and then expands out. All right, and it keeps on doing that, compression and then expanding, compression and then expanding. So what that does, man, we got a lot of stuff. Let's put this fish away. Again, Junimo bundle stuff. Hold on to you. And we still got to do gift giving. What do we have for Abigail? Sorry, I'm playing the game instead of talking psych. No, right-click one. There we go. And I know that diamonds are amazing for Maru, so we'll do a diamond for Maru. Just one. And anything else I'd like to give to other people? I need to really take stock and figure out what are some common gifts that people like. So quartz, do people like quartz? If people like quartz, I could just refine a ton of quartz and give that as gifts. Anyway, do we have any gold? 4, we need some more. Okay. Everything's watered, everything's good, okay. So, sound is this compressed and rarefied stuff. The different sounds that we hear, the different frequencies, you've probably heard that word before when talking about sound, have to do with, again, it's the wavelength. The frequency is basically just a fancy word, a different word, for a sound's wavelength. And it's basically the distance between the period of compression and the period of expansion, or rarefication, as we call it. Or rarefaction, if you want to be proper. All right, let's go see if we can't give gifts. And then maybe let's go check the forest. It's been a bit. We'll cut some stuff down in the forest. I could also use some more wood as well. So where's my axe? Let me axe you something. Boom. Okay. So it's wavelengths. So it's a similar set of information. It's a similar type of stimulus. And yet we experience it in very different ways. So, why do we like some sounds, and why do we dislike other sounds? Well, if you look at the spectrum of sounds, and the spectrum of sounds that we hear as pure, right? There are pure tones, right? It's one frequency, and you can hear it. Now, an octave is actually multiplications of the same base frequencies. And you'll notice that an octave happens at a perfect doubling or halving of the previous frequency. So even though we hear it like it's a step up, it's actually twice as much of a frequency or half as much of a frequency. So if you go and you get a, let's see, do you like flowers?
I love presents. Thank you.
I thought she might. Okay, cool. Just go check the beach real fast. So, even though we experience it as sounding like it is something that is just a gradual set of steps, that's our brain's interpretation of it. But in fact, an octave, the frequency, the actual length of it, it doubles every time you go up, or if you go, it halves as you go higher, it doubles as you go lower. And so our brain notices that pattern, that doubling or halving, and sees that as, again, when we get into the why and the how, you're talking in philosophical words, but it essentially uses that as like an anchoring point, okay? It says like, okay, here is something simple, here is something unchanging, here is something that I can kind of focus on, all right? The brain likes that a lot. We got a rainbow shell. I need to hold on to that. That's why we like octaves. That's why we like certain chords. It's when you have certain components of octaves together that create essentially like a mathematically pure sound. And what's really interesting is you can look at these sound waves, and if you have pure tones, and you can really see what I mean when I say it's a pure tone. It has these very clear peaks, and it has very little noise amongst it. Then we have what we call discordant sounds, right? Things that are kind of really upsetting. You don't like the way that they sound, right? It's really irritating to hear. Let's go check and see if she's at work. I don't think she is, but she might be. And what you have there is you have a whole collection of sounds, a whole bunch of different sounds that don't really sound like they work together too well, because they don't really form any of those nice mathematical patterns that our brain kind of looks for. Oftentimes it's just random little chunks of sound, little frequencies that don't really line up. So when you hear something that's a really like piercing, screeching, kind of noise, oftentimes it contains multiple different forms of sound, but nothing that creates those nice little mathematical patterns that our brain looks for, that we really seek, because that provides us that anchor point that we really like to hang on to. Mario, are you at home? Can I give you a thing, please? Yeah! Guess what I got for you? Diamonds! Is that? Oh, wow, Price! This is spectacular! Yeah! Are you enjoying the season? Yeah, so far. It's been so warm this year. Yeah, it's a good one. All right, what you got going on, Robin? We're going to need to construct a coop soon. 4,000 G, 300 wood, 100 stone. All right, so long story short, the spectrum of the sound leads to us not liking certain sounds. And then there's also a component of learning, all right? We learn to like some sounds. We learn to prefer certain types of musical pairings and patterns. So this is why music from different parts of the world often sounds different. And to people from that place, it makes sense and sounds right. And to people not from that place, sometimes it sounds off. It's like, wait, why did you do that pattern? That's not the pattern of music. The music pattern is this pattern. And so that part is learned, and that's a preferential thing. And that's through repeated hearings and exposure to the same types of sounds. You become used to it, and we like things that we're used to. Right? People don't like change. As much as a lot of people might tell you that they do like change, people just in general, as being like the way that we are structured, the way that we're built, we don't like change at all. We don't have enough money for it. I was going to say, like, oh, I could go upgrade a thing, but I can't upgrade a thing. All right, let's sell a lot of these. Let's hold on to the rainbow shell for sure. And let me just look really quickly. Got one of you, got one of you. Hold on to you. We already put you, I believe, let's check the Junimo bundle. Pantry, crafts room, fish tank, river fish, crab pot. What are we missing? Do I have any of these? I don't think I do. No, but we already did this. Can I turn them in from here? I don't think I can, right? Where's one that I could actually have an item for? Blackberries, or grapes rather. Must be deposited at the community center. Okay, so I will actually, let's hold on to one of those grapes. Sweet peas, I know that Maru likes, but we got plenty of other stuff that we can give Maru. Let's sell these 2 gold strawberries. Let's sell the gold potato. 1 green bean. Did I finish the green bean part of the Junimo bundle? Pantry. Quality crops, summer crops, artisan. I must have, right? Because it was fall crops? No, it was spring crops, which is this one. When it shakes, does that mean I have one of the items or something? Every now and then these will like shake. See? Or it's just when it's when I highlight it. Geologist bundle. We have a lot of these. Anyway, I need to look at these things as well, but I haven't been doing that. Whoopsie on me. Let's put some stuff away. Don't need you right now. And come on, walk faster. I should really walk on my paths. They go faster. All right, let's get rid of you. 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 You. And you. That'll do. And then let me put the gold away. Okay, so let's go out to the forest. So, what else about sounds and things like that? So that's kind of like the general rundown of how sound works as a sense and how it's different from the sense of sight, but and as a result, how that influences our perception of it, right? So it's like we kind of have a rainbow of the spectrum of sound, right? So that's like what you could say, like all the different pitches and how those sound. If you started at like the right, you go all the way up. That's kind of our spectrum of sound, our rainbow of sound. And like I said, octaves are pleasant because they provide a kind of structure to that sound. It's kind of like seeing a pure color. It's very pleasing when a color is kind of like a perfect color, right? When it's like perfectly saturated, there's not like muddled up textures and stuff in there that make it hard to tell what color it is, right? It's not brownish, right? That would be the most, the easiest way to compare sounds that are really tough to hear, that you don't like hearing, to color would be like, it's kind of like a muddied color, right? Like you wanted red or green or something like that. And instead you got something kind of muddy, right? It just doesn't really represent the thing you wanted. So that's sound. Now, alongside that, when it comes to sound, some people would ask about, like, why do we come to be have negative feelings about other types of specific things, right? So sounds in particular, that's one, right? Is you can not like certain sounds that like other people don't really like. But then we had other people asking things about like phobias, like why do we become afraid of certain things? A lot of people asked about being afraid of blood, which is a common one, which actually, from what I understand, there is a little bit more of a neurological component to that one than several of the others. It's called like the vasovagal response, I believe. And it basically means fainting in the response to seeing blood. And that has a lot to do with just overall fear and anxiety associated with it, and it has to do with a change in blood pressure that happens at the sight of blood. Now, why would that happen? Well, if it's a biologically based thing, then that is just something that is a naturally spread and occurring genetic trait, right? And so it's hard to say what the cause of that is other than just saying it is the way that we are, and some people have that trait. There are a lot of explanations for those types of things, but it really does come down to the specific one. And I don't personally know why that one exists. So I'm not going to speak to it as if I do. But for, in general, how phobias and other types of fears kind of spring their head, they tend to be the types of things that occur in the presence of traumatic experience. You happened to, let's just go ahead and eat the rest of our salmon berries. You know, you happened to be exposed to, like, let's say you're afraid of bears, okay? Like really deathly, not even bears, dogs, okay? Really afraid of dogs. Super afraid of dogs. This is a common one, right? A lot of people afraid of dogs, don't like dogs, hate dogs. Most of the time, this can be traced back to an experience that they had as a child of either A, being told that dogs were dangerous, right? Being, made afraid of dogs by, say like a parent or someone who is close to them, kind of overly exaggerated the danger associated with dogs, or, in their minds, they're afraid of dogs enough to where they thought like, yeah, dogs are scary, right? And so pass that on to their children by through example, right? By constantly saying dangerous, 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 dangerous. Or it's the kind of thing where maybe you were bitten by a dog. Maybe you had a really bad experience and someone at that time had a stuffed dog with them, right? Like a plush toy, something like that. There are plenty of different ways that you can conceivably think of someone developing a phobia for dogs, because it's all about association. All that needs to occur in order for you to really gain a phobia is for you to have a negative experience, and through association, so through other stuff that's in the environment at the time when you have that negative experience, there is the other triggering response, or the triggering item, right? In this case, it would be a dog, right? A dog becomes the trigger for that anxiety, regardless of if that was the cause of the anxiety in the first place. All right, once you have one of those phobias, it's a self-reinforcing loop. So once you are afraid, say, of dogs, okay, unless you actively take steps to try and eliminate that phobia, you're going to continue to perpetuate that phobia, because every experience you have with dogs, with whatever the cause is, will reinforce that. Because what's going to happen? You're going to see the dog, you're going to get afraid, okay? Because that's your natural response. In so doing, in becoming afraid, you are going to behave in a way as if you are afraid, and often cause the things that would make you afraid to occur. Right? You're going to make yourself more afraid. It's going to keep on ramping up. And either you have a good experience with a dog, and in that instance, you're like, okay, well, that dog's okay, but other dogs still aren't okay. Other dogs are still not safe, right? So you could have that type of a response. Or you could have a negative response, right? You kind of cause a negative response by being so afraid that maybe you're telling people like, you got to get me away from that dog. That dog's dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. And again, I'm not trying to belittle that kind of a thing. I'm trying to explain that what happens is you kind of build up this kind of natural. Are you coming inside, little buddy? Where'd my pup go? I saw him up here. He probably is inside now. You reinforce these things over and over again. So once you start to build a phobia, it's hard to naturally. You somehow snuck in here. It's hard to naturally eliminate it on its own. It's the kind of thing that it's sort of, without your effort, it will continue to get worse. But it's all through association. It's all through you had a negative experience, and you associate that negative experience with this triggering thing, this item. All right, we've got ourselves some monies. So on the next day, we're going to spend that money. I think we'll probably buy a ton more blueberries because, like I said, those really are the way to go. Berries are just kind of how to make a ton of money in Stardew Valley. But I think that's where we're going to end this episode. Hopefully I answered those questions well. Like I said, since it wasn't really questions, it was more just responding to topic ideas. I kind of went on a little bit of tangents. I don't know if I fully answered everything, but hopefully I did a good job, and we'll see where we pick up next time with discussion on that stuff. But do leave your questions down below. I am reading them, and I do appreciate seeing them. And with all that, thank you all for watching. If you like your style, please be sure to give this video a like, a favorite, and subscribe to the channel. My name has been Price, and I will see y'all next time.